June 1962. Off the rugged coast of San Francisco, shrouded often in a chilling fog, lay Alcatraz Island. Known chillingly as the Rock, it wasn't just a prison, it was a fortress, a psychological weapon. Its brutal reputation preceded it. Isolated, surrounded by the churning, frigid waters of San Francisco Bay, notorious for its treacherous currents and the chilling, though exaggerated, whispers of sharks. This was designed to be the maximum security, inescapable federal penitentiary, purpose-built to hold America's most notorious, unmanageable criminals. The unofficial motto, painted on cell walls and whispered in hushed tones, echoed ominously, "No one ever escapes from Alcatraz." Into this steel and concrete maw came the men who would dare to challenge the impossible. At the heart of their audacious plan was Frank Morris, a career criminal with a strikingly high IQ and a quiet, almost chameleon-like ability to blend into the background. Morris had a history of successful prison breaks before his arrival at Alcatraz. He was a master of observation, exceptionally cunning, and possessed a calm, methodical mind that saw flaws where others saw impenetrable walls. Alongside him were the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. Hailing from a large, close-knit family in Georgia, they were known for their bank robbery past, but also for their resourcefulness and a deep-seated love for the outdoors. A life of swimming, fishing, and freedom that contrasted sharply with their current grim reality. Fiercely loyal to each other, they yearned to break free and return to their family, a powerful motivator that fueled their daring. The fourth and ultimately peripheral conspirator was Allen West. A seasoned inmate with connections within the prison, West was initially part of the core planning group. His involvement would prove crucial, though his fate, tragically for him, would diverge from the others. The prison itself was a testament to federal power and security. Constant guard patrols moved silently through the tiers, punctuated by hourly cell inspections. The thick steel bars, reinforced concrete walls, and the chilling, ever-present foghorn served as constant reminders of their captivity. And then there was the bay itself, the frigid temperatures, the unpredictable currents that could drag a strong swimmer miles off course, and the daunting distance to shore. Alcatraz wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a psychological one, designed to break the spirit, making men abandon any hope of freedom. But for Morris, West, and the Anglin brothers, hope was a dangerous, alluring mistress. Morris, with his calculating intellect, saw not impregnable walls, but weaknesses. The Anglin brothers, driven by a deep desperation and an unyielding will to be free, were willing to follow his every instruction. In the cold, unyielding heart of Alcatraz, the seeds of an impossible plan began to take root. The plan, conceived in hushed whispers and executed with painstaking patience, was a marvel of ingenuity and audacity. It began with a seemingly innocuous weakness, the air vents located in the back wall of each cell. These small, grimy openings, meant for ventilation, became the focal point of their impossible dream. Their primary tool for the breakout was simple, almost comically so: sharpened spoons. Taken from the mess hall, these ordinary utensils were painstakingly ground down into crude shovels and drills. To expedite the process, they fashioned makeshift drills using the stolen motor from a broken vacuum cleaner, and even managed to acquire sandpaper from the prison workshops. Slowly, agonizingly, they began to enlarge the air vents in their cells. The work was excruciatingly slow, measured in millimeters, and the constant risk of discovery loomed over every scratch and scrape. A single misstep, a loose piece of concrete, or a curious guard could end their dream. To buy themselves precious hours on the night of the escape, they devised a brilliant deception: papier-mâché dummy heads. These were not crude, childlike creations. Crafted from soap, toilet paper, paint, and incredibly, real human hair, stolen from the barbershop floor, these lifelike busts were placed strategically in their beds, covered by blankets. During the routine night checks, guards peering into the cells would see what appeared to be sleeping inmates, allowing the men to slip away undetected into the hidden passageway behind their cells. This passageway was the true marvel of their operation, an unguarded utility corridor, about 3 feet wide, running the length of the cell block. It was a forgotten space, a crucial oversight in Alcatraz's perfect design. This became their clandestine workshop, a hub of improbable engineering hidden just feet from their cells. Here, in the dim, dusty silence, they constructed their makeshift escape vessel, a raft and life vests fashioned from over 50 stolen raincoats. These disparate pieces of material were carefully stitched and sealed together using the intense heat from the prison's steam pipes. It was a feat of improvisation, requiring immense secrecy and intricate collaboration. To inflate their crude raft, they built a bizarre accordion-like pump from salvaged materials. A paddle was fashioned from plywood, and personal items, wallets, family photos, addresses, were carefully bundled into waterproof bags. To mask the sounds of their incessant drilling, scraping, and construction, Morris employed a simple yet ingenious tactic: music practice hours. Morris himself, an adept musician, would play his accordion, the raucous, out-of-tune melodies echoing through the cell block, cleverly disguising the faint sounds of their clandestine activities. As the weeks turned into months, a crucial problem arose. While Morris and the Anglin brothers made steady progress, Alan West struggled to enlarge his vent enough. Despite his efforts, the opening remained too small for him to squeeze through quickly. This would become a fateful detail, a subtle fissure in their otherwise meticulously planned escape. West would not make it out with them. The stage was set for an unprecedented dash for freedom, a desperate gamble against the unyielding power of Alcatraz. The night of June 11, 1962 was cold and blustery, typical for San Francisco Bay. The conditions were treacherous, yet perhaps ideal for a desperate bid for freedom. The darkness and biting chill offering both concealment and a test of sheer will. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin silently initiated the final phase of their impossible plan. One by one, they slipped through their painstakingly enlarged vents, leaving behind their papier-mâché doppelgangers to fool the patrolling guards. They dropped into the narrow, dark utility corridor behind their cells, a space they had painstakingly transformed into their secret launch pad. From there, they climbed up through a ventilation shaft, a precarious vertical ascent that led them directly to the prison roof. The biting wind whipped at their makeshift clothing, the darkness absolute, punctuated only by the distant glow of San Francisco's lights, a tantalizing vision of freedom. The descent from the roof was equally harrowing. They shimmied down a 50-foot drain pipe, its slick surface offering little grip. Below, the ground was unforgiving, and a single slip would have sent them plunging to their deaths or directly into the path of a searchlight. But they made it. They then navigated the prison grounds, avoiding the watchful eyes of tower guards and their roving searchlights, making their way to the unguarded northeast shore of the island. Here, in the frigid darkness, their improbable vessel awaited. They quickly inflated their handmade raft, the crude accordion pump wheezing as it filled the raincoat-stitched pontoons with air. The tide, which Morris had meticulously studied for months, was at their back, poised to carry them towards the Golden Gate. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on June 12th, the three men pushed their craft into the churning waters of San Francisco Bay, disappearing into the vast, inky blackness. No witnesses saw them enter the water. No alarms sounded. The inescapable men of Alcatraz had, for a fleeting moment, vanished. The next morning, the carefully constructed illusion shattered. During the first routine cell count, guards discovered the crude but effective dummy heads. The alarm sounded, a piercing siren that echoed across the bay, sending a jolt of disbelief and fury through the prison. Chaos erupted. Warden Olin Blackwell's worst nightmare had come true. The impenetrable fortress had been breached. Meanwhile, Alan West was found trapped in his cell, a testament to his struggle. He had enlarged his vent enough to almost get through, but the concrete had collapsed around him, preventing his final escape. He was the primary source of information for authorities, detailing the entire meticulous plan. The immediate, massive manhunt began, involving the FBI, the U.S. Coast Guard, and local police. Boats scoured the bay, helicopters crisscrossed the skies, and search teams combed every inch of the shoreline. The greatest prison break in American history was underway, its outcome shrouded in the chilling uncertainty of the cold, unforgiving bay. The manhunt was unprecedented in its scale, a desperate attempt to salvage Alcatraz's reputation and reassure a nation that its most dangerous criminals remained contained. Days turned into a week, then more, as every inch of San Francisco Bay and its surrounding coastline was meticulously searched. Eventually, after an exhaustive and ultimately fruitless effort to find any sign of the men, authorities, led primarily by the FBI and Warden Olin Blackwell, officially concluded that Morris and the Anglin brothers had drowned in the frigid waters of the bay. The currents were too strong, the water too cold, the odds too stacked against them. The search was officially called off, the case closed with a declaration of presumed death. This conclusion, however, quickly generated a profound and enduring skepticism that would plague the case for decades. The ambiguous evidence collected during the search was the primary fuel for this skepticism. The paddle. Days after the escape, a homemade wooden paddle, consistent with the design described by Alan West, was found floating in the bay near Angel Island. This suggested the raft had indeed made it out of Alcatraz's immediate vicinity. Life vest remains. Several days later, a partially deflated life vest, crafted from the same raincoats used for the raft, was found on Cronkite Beach, north of the Golden Gate Bridge. Another deflated life vest was reportedly found further out at sea. The fact that the vest was partially deflated, rather than completely deflated or torn, could suggest it was intentionally let go. A bag of belongings. Most tantalizingly, a plastic bag containing personal items belonging to the Anglin brothers, including family photographs, addresses, and other small personal effects, was found floating in the bay, also near Angel Island. While water damaged, these items were not destroyed. This suggested that the men had made it at least as far as Angel Island and potentially discarded these items before making their next move. Footprints. Reports of footprints found on Angel Island near the presumed landing site circulated, but these were never definitively confirmed as belonging to the escapees. But the most compelling piece of counter-evidence, the undeniable void that swallowed the official narrative, was the absence of bodies. In the powerful currents and frigid waters of San Francisco Bay, if the men had indeed drowned, their bodies were expected to surface within days or at most a few weeks, typically floating with the tides. None did. No human remains of Morris, John Anglin, or Clarence Anglin were ever recovered. This chilling lack of physical evidence became the central, nagging doubt, the unanswered question that ensured the mystery of the Alcatraz escape would never truly die. The escape, regardless of its outcome, profoundly impacted Alcatraz. It shattered the prison's carefully cultivated image of being impenetrable, eroding public confidence and drawing unwanted scrutiny. Less than a year later, in March 1963, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was officially closed, its reputation as the Rock permanently undermined by the vanishing men. This historical footnote adds weight to the escapees' legendary status. Alan West, the fourth conspirator, despite cooperating with authorities and providing crucial details, gave conflicting accounts in later interviews, and some observers felt he knew more than he let on, perhaps even protecting his former associates. The official story had holes, and the public sensed it. Decades have passed since that cold June night in 1962, yet the mystery of the Alcatraz escape remains as impenetrable as the prison itself. The FBI officially closed its investigation in 1979, firmly maintaining the drowning theory. However, in a fascinating and telling twist, the U.S. Marshals Service continues to keep the case open, classifying Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers as fugitives, a subtle yet significant acknowledgement of the lingering doubt and the very real possibility that they might still be alive. The persistence of this mystery is fueled by new, tantalizing clues that have emerged years, even decades, after the escape itself. The postcards, 1975. In 1975, the Anglin family received a postcard. The signature was supposedly John Anglin. While not definitive proof, it was a spark of hope, a chilling implication that at least one of the brothers had survived. The letter, 2013. Perhaps the most astonishing development came in 2013, when a letter, purportedly written by John Anglin, was sent to the San Francisco Police Department. The letter claimed all three men survived the escape, stating that Frank Morris died in 2008 and Clarence Anglin died in 2011. It offered a chilling proposition. If you announce on TV that I will be given a fine 1-year sentence and medical care, I will write back to you to let you know exactly where I am. This is no joke. Handwriting analysis conducted by the FBI was inconclusive, unable to definitively confirm or deny its authenticity. The letter added a layer of tantalizing uncertainty, posing a direct, unsettling challenge to the official narrative. The Brazil photo, 2015. In 2015, a blurry photograph, supposedly taken in Brazil in 1975, surfaced. It depicted two men, strikingly resembling John and Clarence Anglin. The Anglin family, particularly their nephews, were convinced the men in the photo were their long-lost uncles, suggesting they had managed to build new lives in South America. The image, while not crystal clear, provides a powerful visual anchor for the "they survived" theory. Forensic age progression. Periodically, computer-generated age progression images of the three men are released by authorities, keeping the public engaged and subtly acknowledging the ongoing possibility of their survival. The myth of their survival revolves around several scenarios. They managed to reach Angel Island, a much closer landmass, quickly disposed of their raft and life vests, stole a car, changed clothes, and disappeared into the vast American mainland. Or perhaps they had outside help, a boat waiting for them, whisking them away to a new life, possibly in South America, a common refuge for fugitives at the time. Counter-arguments from experts maintain the "they drowned" theory. They argue that the bay conditions were simply too severe, the currents too strong, and the water too cold, around 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit, for prolonged survival. Hypothermia would set in rapidly, and the sheer physical exertion required to navigate the currents would have been overwhelming. Yet, the absence of bodies remains the most powerful counterpoint to these arguments. The Alcatraz escape is far more than just a prison break. It's an iconic American story of daring, ingenuity, and the indomitable human spirit's desperate desire for freedom. It appeals to our fascination with the underdog, the impossible feat, and the enduring allure of a mystery. It speaks to a deep-seated human desire to believe that sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible is possible. So, the final, haunting question remains. Were Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin cunning escape artists who pulled off the impossible, disappearing into the shadows to live out their lives in secret? Or did they perish in the unforgiving bay, their bodies lost to the currents, their incredible escape ending in a watery grave? The rock may have been breached, but the mystery of the vanishing men remains as impenetrable as the prison itself, a strange, dark, and mysterious tale with no definitive ending, leaving us forever to wonder what truly happened on that cold June night.